Alrighty then. I don't know how long this video is going to be. I guess you do, because it's on YouTube and there's a time meter, but at this point, I have no idea. I do have some things I want to say, and some things I want to show you on the airplane. But so today is April 6th, 2019, and it's a Saturday. It's a beautiful, beautiful day, as you can see. I mean, this is absolute meteorological perfection right now. The windsock is drooping. The clouds are basically non-existent. Some very high cirrus out there. You can see right here there's some airplanes parked there. I know most people watching this video are not familiar with Bartow, but those airplanes are not usually there. That is Sun and Fun overflow. This airport is about, I guess, 10 miles or so southeast of the Lakeland Linder Airport, which is where Sun and Fun is, and some of these guys, I guess, just fly into Bartow and take a shuttle or rent a car or something. But I went to Sun and Fun yesterday, and just about every year I always go on the Friday. So I did the same thing this year, and the weather was not as good as it is now, but it actually was quite pleasant most of the day. My last video I uploaded was me flying in an air cam, which I thought was frankly the highlight of the day for me. It was only an 8-minute flight, but one circuit around the pattern, but it was still enough to really feel what it feels like to fly in an air cam. It's quite a bit different than flying in a Cherokee. I mean, flying's flying, of course, but you know, with a Cherokee, you're inside, and with this, you're outside. And that little difference of not having that little bit of sheet metal around you really makes the whole feel different. Much more close to being a bird, I think, in an air cam than you are in a Cherokee. But flying's flying, and I'm grateful to be able to do any kind of flying. I'll take my little slice of aviation and enjoy it, because you do have to fit it into the realities and the economics of life. I mean, you go out to Sun and Fun, and there are so many amazing flying machines there, and so much money. I mean, the air cam is $130,000 airplane on the low side, and it's even more on the high side. And so I'm not going to be buying one anytime soon. It doesn't mean that I couldn't afford it at some reasonable point in the future, but it would take sacrifice to come off that kind of money. I think that would be the case for anybody. Let me open up my hanger. Sorry about the video. But I don't have $130,000 sitting in the bank, so the only way I can swing it would be to get a loan. And I have a chunk of that, but I don't have, nearly all of that. So I'd have to get a loan, and buying an air cam would be kind of like buying a middle-class house. Let me do this door thing here. Hang on. Sorry about that. It's kind of like buying a middle-class type house. It's just not the cards anytime soon for me. But so being able to fly in it was really cool, because I know dang well I'm probably not going to own one for a while, if ever. Frankly, if I had 130 grand, I'm not so sure I'd even buy one. As awesome as it is, imagine flying at a Stearman or something. Does that mean you want to go out and buy a Stearman? I mean, sometimes you have to look at the full picture and say, well, if I'm going to have one airplane, and that's the airplane I'm going to have, would you really want it to be an air cam? I don't know. There's not a lot you can do with them. But I can't afford this. And sorry about the background noise. My hangar door is opening. But I can't afford this, and I'm very fortunate to say that this is mine. Like, that is very cool. It's very, very cool. But yet, I can go out to the air show, and I can see airplanes that are anywhere from, I see airplanes that are 10 to 15 times as expensive as this one. I saw a brand new Cirrus SR-22. I think it was an STS they call it, or something. Just an amazing machine, and it makes my airplane look like a tinker toy. I mean, it really does. It's just sleek and modern, and I look at this thing and it literally looks like a Tinker Toy, you know, but the Cirrus is even worse than the air cam. I bet you can buy 3 or 4 air cams for the price of the Cirrus. So even then you're sitting on a continuum, you know, what do you buy? No matter what, there's nicer airplanes out there. And so I think with anybody in aviation, you know, the bottom line is it's a privilege to be able to do anything in it, because it's not a poor man's sport. It's just not. And you got to have some degree of means to do it. And then once you sort of arrive at a basic means to be able to do it, then, you know, how involved you get in it, frankly, depends on how much money you're willing to throw at it, because it's a pay-to-play type of thing. And so that's the deal. So anyway, here's my airplane, and I'm actually going to go flying today. I have actually nowhere to go. I just want to fly. You know, Sun and Fun always whets my appetite and gets me really in the mood to fly. And I want to look at something here. Make sure that, yeah, I guess that looks about right. Sun and Fun always gets me, you know, in the mood to fly. Not that I'm not in the mood to fly otherwise, but so I figure on a day like today, if I'm fortunate enough to be an airplane owner, why would I not go up on a day like today? So I am going to go up, and Sun and Fun, like I said, is just west of here a ways, and on a day like today, on the weekend, there's going to be a lot of people just flying into there, and I'd just rather not get into that. And the NOTAM for the arrival at Sun and Fun has you basically come in from the north. Everybody kind of goes to Lake Parker, and then they either circle around Lake Parker or they shoot around the north side and go down sort of the west side and into the north side of the airport. And they turn left or right to do either a left or right downwind for 9 left or 27 right. And that's kind of how it works. But so I'm just going to avoid all that. I think I'm just going to go south and cruise down to Wauchula, or maybe down towards Punta Gorda or something. And maybe I'll go down to Punta Gorda and do a landing and taxi back and come back, something like that. I haven't decided yet. But whatever I do, I will enjoy it. I will have a grin on my face. But here's the thing. When I'm done, I'm actually not going to put the airplane back here. It's actually going to go sort of over there behind those trees there. There's a paint place named Ace Aircraft Refinishing, and so I basically, when I land, I just have to, there's a taxiway there, and it sort of goes back behind those trees, and it's kind of over there. And I'm going to bring it there, and they are going to commence working on it on Monday. And what I'm having done basically is a little bit of touch-up paint, which I will show you the before. So this is going to serve as a bit of a before video as well. I'm going to show you what I'm going to have done, and I'll talk about the price and all that. So let's just do that now. This will be my official before video. So as you can see, the paint on the airplane in general is good, and I don't have any immediate plans to repaint it, but it could use a little bit of touch up here and there. But it is on my schedule to repaint it, but it's going to be, I've decided not to talk finances really, but I won't use any numbers, but I have decided that I'm going to pay off my house first. And I have a certain amount of time associated with that. I've crunched out basically a timeline, a realistic timeline of when I could pay my house off. And when my house is paid off, and I'm obviously going to be throwing a lot of money at it to get it paid off on a very accelerated timeline, but once that happens, I've decided that I'm going to paint the airplane as a reward to myself for having paid the house off. And those two goals are also kind of synergistic if you think about it, because you know, painting an airplane painting this airplane is going to cost about $15,000. And so if I get to a point where I've got a spare $15,000 burning a hole in my pocket, and I'm sitting there saying, you know what, let's do this. I'm feeling antsy, let's just do it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that $15,000 and I'm going to pay down my house with it. And so anytime I feel I have the money, then I'm just going to throw it at my house. And that's kind of the little mental trick I'm playing with myself. And then once the house is paid off, I'm going to be saving money very quickly by comparison, because I would have been putting so much money towards the house, and that'll end up stopping, that I can accumulate enough money to get back up to the 15 grand relatively quickly. So then I'll paint the airplane and I'll get it fully done. I have a paint scheme already picked out, and I'm gonna get that done. So, you know, like I said, without talking specifics, you know, we're probably looking at the 4-year timeline-ish. So about 4 years from now, I expect to be there. And that's probably when this thing's going to get repainted. So I'm going to have to deal with this paint job, which is actually a decent paint job. I mean, you can look at the wing. I mean, it's a decent paint job. I saw a lot of airplanes at Sun and Fun that didn't even have a paint job this nice on them. So with that said, I'm going to have to deal with this paint job until then. So what I wanted to do was have some of the filiform corrosion fixed. Filiform corrosion, if you know what it is, it's surface corrosion. It's not anything major, but it can get major. So I'm trying to nip this in the bud now. And there's not a lot on it, but there's some on it. And like there's a little bit right there. That's very minor though. But there is stuff on it that I want to get fixed. And I can go around and point it all out. I think it'd be a waste. But the guy who owned it before me kept it outside, and this is a bunch of scratches that came from the buckle on the top that goes over this thing. The wind would hit that buckle and scratch that up. So I'm going to have them repaint that. I'm going to have them blend it as best they can, but I told the guy straight up, I said, I'm realistic. I understand it's not going to look brand new, and that's okay. I would rather him do his very best. Even if you can see a square there, I'm okay with that, because like I said, I'm probably 4 to 5 years away from repainting the whole thing anyway. So you know, like this side, for example, this side doesn't have that problem, and I kind of want the other side to look like that. And then if you come underneath here, you can see some of the filiform. So this is a particularly bad spot. You can see right there, all that right there. And it kind of stops right there. So this is one of the worst spots on the plane. So this is not necessarily representative of the problem, but it's one of the worst spots right here. And there's more here and there. There's a respectable amount, I guess you can say, on the bottom of the fuselage as well. Maybe I'll crawl over there real quick and show you. That way I can sort of have a before video. Let's crawl up underneath here. I'm not really wearing the proper shirt for this, but maybe it's all back there. There's some back there. I'm not gonna bother crawling back there, but this is just oil underneath. They'll probably have to do a little cleaning under there, but I'll let them do that. That's what I'm paying them for. But anyway, there's nothing major under here, but I'm anal, and I really want things right. What I want to do is eliminate the time pressure to paint the airplane. That's the goal, and I actually had that conversation with the guy who's going to do it. I said, I understand it doesn't look like a show airplane, but it looks good. It really does. I mean, look at that wing. That's a shiny wing. It's really not that bad. The fuselage is a little more dull than the wing is, as you can see. But I told him I'm probably on the 4 to 5, maybe 6 tops timeline of painting this thing. And I said I want to eliminate all time pressure, where the only reason I'm doing it is aesthetic. I don't want to have, because filiform corrosion will eat in over time. It is a deteriorating type of thing, and so it's a growing type of corrosion, and so I think all corrosion is. So I just want to get it all resolved, and I want to get to a point where it's there's no ticking clocks on this thing. And that's really what I'm after. And depending on how much money it ends up running, he kind of gave me a quote. I think I'm looking at about $1,500 to do everything that I just showed you. But depending on my mood and how things fall and all that, I may also have him paint that nose wheel paint. Problem is, I'm only going to get 4 or 5 years of pleasure out of it, and it really doesn't look that bad. But this one is technically shiny. That one's dull. But I may just leave it. I may just say, you know what, it's good enough. Let me just save my money. I'm a reasonable guy. Also, I'm going to have something done back here. If you look at this right here, that might be a little surface corrosion, but I think this is just a rattle can job gone wrong. And so we've already talked about that. He's going to paint this whole thing and make that look nice. This side is actually fine. So there's that. And I'm just going to kind of give him a, I mean, I do want to keep track of the money, but it's honestly not about the money. I mean, I want to make sure I'm treated fairly, of course. But I mean, the difference between $1,500 and $2,000 to me is not a big deal if they're already doing it, do it right. If you see something needs to be done, do it. I'm gonna tell them that. Just be reasonable. If it gets crazy, call me. But I just want it done right. Getting things done right is more important to me than the money. It really, really is. So that's what's going to happen. And so my mission today is this. I'm going to fly shortly. I'm going to close that hatch. Oh, I put in the new. I haven't flown with the Power Flow yet. The new insert, I should say. This is the old one that we replaced. And I have yet to fly with the new one, so that's going to happen this morning. And if you look up in here, you can see, I guess the lighting isn't right to see it, but that's a brand new insert right there. And it's still covered in shrink wrap. So it's the way that thing comes is it's wrapped in like pallet wrap, like shrink wrap, because it's holding all the insulation on. And when you fire this thing up, of course, it takes a little time to start really getting hot. And I'm going to fly it long enough today to really get it hot. But when it warms up, it's going to literally burn that shrink wrap off. So I may smell a little bit of funk here as I fly. So I'm kind of curious about that. But yeah, and I'm also curious about just how it feels. Is it quieter than it was? Is it does it have more power than it had? I don't know. My opinion is I'm not going to notice any difference. That's just my opinion. But you could certainly make the argument. How much? I think I'm right at. Where's the 6? I'm right at about 6 3/4 oil right now. So we're good there. I finished doing my pre-flight here, but I haven't even started yet. So I've been talking about the annual for a long time, and I'm actually legitimately excited about my annual, and I know a lot of people probably laugh at that, but the reason I am is because I still don't really know what I've got with this plane. I know that sounds funny to say because I've owned it now for 15 months, but it's honestly the truth. When I went up and got a pre-buy, the mechanic that I brought with me was just an absolute incompetent. He's a nice guy. I like him, and I won't use his name. And we really don't even talk anymore. I think he kind of got the memo that I was upset at him, but he really shouldn't even have his license. I mean, I'm not even gonna lie. I think he's good with a wrench. You give him a wrench, I think he can probably do jobs. He just doesn't know how to. He doesn't know how to read anything, and he's just. We'll just leave it at that. Let me just say that I did do what I thought was due diligence when I bought the airplane by bringing a mechanic up with me, but I didn't get anything out of that. So, stuck between a rock and a hard place, I bought the airplane basically on my judgment. And of course, with 20/20 hindsight, I probably should never have bought the plane. But having done so, the only real downside is that I've spent more money on it really than I should. I'm probably on the order of $8,000 backwards from where I should be with this airplane right now. But it's water under the bridge. I'll just call it life tax, and we'll move forward. It's the airplane I have. I love it, and I'm working on making it really, really nice. It's just, you know, an uphill, expensive battle. I'm telling you though, compared to some of the crap I saw out at Sun and Fun, because I walked through the GA area, it's actually this is actually one of the nicer 140s out there, to be honest with you. There are nicer ones. I saw some real junks out there. People just don't take pride in them or something, I don't know. But anyway, that said, when I had the first, because I've had it 15 months, so clearly I would have had to have done an annual already, which I have. The annual was last done, it was signed off in April of last year. And if you read back on the blog, I had a bunch of work done. I had the wing reskinned, and I had this whole cowling redone, and the spinner redone, and it looks great. I mean, they really did a good job, and I have nothing negative to say about any of the work they did. The only thing I will say that's negative is that they sold me on the idea of doing an annual since they were going to have the airplane apart anyway. And so I thought about it, and I said, fine, just go ahead and bust it out. And that's exactly what they did. They busted it out. It was done right at the end. They did all this work for me, and then they did the annual, quote unquote. And when I got the report, what they had told me was they changed the ELT battery. They put new bearings, I think, they may have done all three wheels. I think they put brand new bearings in all three wheels. And then there was a bearing that the rudder rotates on. I guess there's two of them. They replaced one of those. And that's it. That's all they did. And you know, when I look at the condition of this airplane, and now that I've just been through it pretty thoroughly myself, no, there's more. There's more, buddy. There's more that has to be done. And I think what happened was they sort of quoted me a price that included the annual and all the work they did. And the price had crept up over time. And I think it got to a point where they started feeling guilty about it. Not because they were screwing me over. I genuinely do not think they screwed me over. But I think it just kept going higher and higher and higher. And I think they ended up kind of feeling guilty, and they didn't want to make it go any higher, and they wanted to kind of protect what margin was built into the job. I think they may have even taken a slight, it was definitely a profitable job for them, but I think they may have had a tighter margin on the job than some of the other jobs they do. But so I don't think they tried to screw me or anything, but I think it got to a point where there just wasn't enough margin in it to start nitpicking, and I'm a nitpicky guy, and so I think they basically determined that the airplane was airworthy, which, I mean, it's still here. I've been flying it for a year, so they must have done something right. But there's more to do. There's more to do, and so here we are coming up on what I am calling the first real annual. The other one was basically an afterthought. This one is going to be the real one, so it's going to be, you go through, and I actually have a good relationship with my mechanic now, I feel good about the whole thing. So this time he's going to go through, he's going to give me a list of every little thing, and I'm going to probably get everything fixed. I mean, we'll talk about it, of course, but my mission is to make this airplane as mechanically perfect as I can get it, because that's just how I roll. And if it needs to be done, I'm going to do it, unless I cannot afford it. If I cannot afford it, then we'll make some decisions. But if it's something I can swing, if I can just do a Hail Mary push and get this thing up to tip-top mechanical shape, new hoses, all this scat tubing, if there's any problems with the scat tubing, I may even just tell them, hey, replace all this scat tubing. I mean, scat tubing is cheap. It's like $3 a foot. And obviously I got to pay for labor, but just look how nasty some of that looks. Give me some new hoses in here. These little blobs, you know, replace those. Just make it look fresh. Make it look like somebody's been in here recently. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure he's gonna find stuff that I'm not even thinking of. But that's what's coming up, and that's actually happening. That's kicking off 3 weeks from today. So the basic timeline for the annual, which I'm grouping a lot of things into that heading. When I say the annual, I'm talking about this muffler job, which we just did, the filiform work, which is going to begin on Monday, and then the annual, and then the installation of the TrueTrack. And it's also, because I already bought the TrueTrack autopilot, and I also have brand new seats coming. You can see I don't have any rear seats right now. They're over there, they're right there, and they're ugly as hell, and they don't even match. These are gray, those are black. I'm not okay with that. So I got new seats coming from AirTex. Gonna redo all that. I'll have 4 matching seats. I'll have rear seats in the back. I'll have the TrueTrack installed. I'll have the filiform corrosion fixed, and I will have it cherry mechanically once the annual's done. And that's where we're headed. That's what the airplane is going to be doing basically for the next 2 months. So I'm gonna fly it now. I'm just about to stop the my phone, and I'm gonna go fly, enjoy myself, come back, and I'm gonna take it over to the paint shop, and that's gonna begin this period of time. I should pick it up on Friday. I sort of envision getting off work on Friday and coming straight out here and grabbing it, because I think they told me they can pretty much do it next week. So that's gonna happen, and then I'll put it back in here, and it'll sit in here for 2 weeks, except that, so next weekend, it's gonna come in here because it'll be done, but I have to do my flight instructor refresher clinic in Tampa, and that's an all weekend thing, so I'm not gonna be able to fly next weekend. But the weekend after that, which will be the 20th and the 21st, I need to do my biannual flight review. So I'm trying to work that out with a local instructor here. I don't actually expire till May, but I'm not gonna have my airplane for all of May because it goes into annual at the end of April. And I can always rent one of their Skyhawks, but I just soon fly in my own plane. So if I can get this guy to ride with me and do my biannual on the 20th, then I can get that wrapped up before I fly it over to the mechanic on the 27th. And then once it's there, we're talking 6 weeks, at least 6 weeks by the time it's actually out of annual. So it's probably before it's done with the annual, done with the TrueTrack, and done with the seats. And so 6 weeks, it could be as high as 2 months. So realistically, I'm really kind of at the beginning right now of a period of time that's probably gonna take between 2.5 to 3 months to really get through. So, but once it's done, I will have the second half of the year, and I'll have a great little plane that I know a lot more about than I do right now. So there's my video, 30 minutes of me jaw jacking. So I'm gonna go fly. See you.